Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. May 15th gives us rulers trying to look legitimate, courts stressing violence as procedure, inventions improving both science and misery, and the modern world arriving as a draft. Segment 1, and crowns, puppets, and the fine art of looking official. Power loves a costume, and May 15th gives us two versions of the same performance. The ruler who needs belief, and the ruler everyone knows is not really in charge. In 221, Liu Bei proclaimed himself Emperor of Shu Han, claiming he was the rightful continuation of the fallen Han dynasty after decades of warlord chaos in China. He had the perfect political origin story. Distant royal blood, childhood poverty, straw sandals, loyal warrior brothers, and the brilliant strategist Zhuge Liang, recruited through repeated humble visits to a thatched cottage. That is how you know it is ancient politics. Today, after the second unanswered visit, somebody files a security complaint. Liu Bei's new state helped lock China into the Three Kingdoms era, where everyone claimed to want reunification while staying attached to their own throne. Then, in 392, Western Roman Emperor Valentinian II was found dead in Gaul after spending most of his short life as a teenage emperor trapped under stronger men. His general, Arbogast, reportedly tore up Valentinian's dismissal order in his face, which is less serving the empire and more, your boss just found out he is decorative. Whether Valentinian died by suicide or murder, the crisis showed Rome drifting toward a pattern where emperors wore purple while generals held the remote. Liu Bei built legitimacy through myth, loyalty, and theater. Valentinian discovered legitimacy without power is just expensive fabric. The crown is impressive, but the person behind it with the army has the better parking spot. Segment 2, and justice with a trap door. If power cannot win honestly, it discovers procedure, which is just violence wearing reading glasses. In 1525, the Battle of Frankenhausen effectively crushed the German Peasants' War, the largest popular uprising in Europe before the French Revolution. Thousands of peasants, squeezed by taxes and rulers treating common land like a private subscription plan, rallied around the radical preacher Thomas Müntzer. He promised a holy social order where all things were held in common, which sounded inspiring until the princes arrived with artillery and a very different interpretation of community. The ruling forces offered a truce, used it to surround the peasant wagon fort, then opened fire. More than 7,000 rebels were slaughtered, while the princely forces reportedly lost only a handful of men, which is not a battle so much as a complaint answered by cannon. 11 years later, Anne Boleyn faced another machine built to make power look legal. On May 15, 1536, she was tried in the Tower of London for treason, adultery, and incest, on charges now widely viewed as a political solution to King Henry VIII's marital problem. Henry had broken with Rome to marry her, then decided the marriage was unacceptable because it produced Elizabeth instead of a son, which is like burning down your house for a new kitchen and blaming the kitchen for not being a garage. Anne's jury included her own uncle and Henry Percy, the man who once loved her. Percy reportedly collapsed after the guilty verdict, a brief human moment inside a courtroom designed to remove humanity. Frankenhausen and Anne's trial share the same grim architecture. First comes the official language, then the outcome powerful people already want. Segment 3, and genius, gunpowder, and bad ideas with patents. May 15th has a suspicious relationship with innovation, because humans can map the heavens and then ask whether bullets could be crueler. In 1618, Johannes Kepler confirmed his third law of planetary motion, proving that a planet's orbital period squared is proportional to the cube of its distance from the sun. That sounds like a sentence designed to make the back row consider landscaping, but it helped give the solar system a measurable structure, and later helped Isaac Newton build the mathematics of gravity. Kepler believed he was finding divine harmony in the sky, which is beautiful, except while decoding planetary motion, he was also fighting to save his mother from a witchcraft accusation. Nothing says scientific revolution like discovering cosmic order while begging officials not to burn mom. A century later, in 1718, James Puckle patented the Puckle gun, an early rapid-fire weapon with a revolving cylinder designed for ship defense. It was mechanically clever, legally important, and morally grotesque in that old European way, where inventions arrived with a side dish of religious bigotry. Puckle designed round bullets for Christian enemies and square bullets for Muslim Turks, arguing the sharp corners would be more painful, because the Enlightenment still had a comment section. The gun failed commercially, with one satire saying it only wounded the investors, maybe the first honest review of a defense startup. Then, in 1756, Britain formally declared war on France, helping ignite the 7 Years' War, a global conflict stretching across continents because European powers had discovered local disputes are more exciting when exported. Kepler looked up and found order. Puckle and the empires looked around and found scalable chaos. That is the human condition. One eye on the stars, one hand filing a patent for a crank-operated nightmare. Segment 4, and real estate deals that accidentally make the future. Some consequences begin not with destiny, but with exhausted people signing land documents. On May 15, 1768, the Treaty of Versailles transferred Corsica from the Republic of Genoa to France, largely because Genoa was broke, worn down, and tired of trying to control an island that had developed a strong preference for not being controlled. France got a Mediterranean possession. Genoa got debt relief, and 15 months later, Napoleone de Bonaparte was born in Ajaccio as a French subject. That is an extraordinary historical accident. A financial cleanup deal helped make the future Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte French. If Genoa had held on a little longer, France's greatest military icon might have grown up as somebody else's problem, the international version of forgetting to cancel a free trial. More than a century later, in 1905, Las Vegas was born when railroad land was auctioned in the Mojave Desert. The city, now famous for neon, casinos, and pretending a buffet is a cultural institution, was originally named for lush meadows fed by desert water. Even better, Nevada banned gambling only 4 years after the town was founded, meaning Las Vegas had to spend its awkward adolescence pretending it was not destined to become America's glittering cash register with a hangover. Gambling returned in 1931 during the Great Depression because moral panic gets quieter when tax revenue walks in wearing a sequin jacket. One deal helped create Napoleon. Another created a city where people voluntarily lose money under fake landmarks. Real estate is location, 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 and occasionally accidental world domination. Segment 5, and the modern world begins as a weird first draft. The modern world does not arrive polished. On May 15th, it arrives as a labor document, a cartoon flop, an airplane job, a burger stand, a war, and a pink boat. In 1891, Pope Leo XIII issued Rerum Novarum, responding to capitalism's habit of treating workers like replaceable machine parts. The document defended private property, but also argued for living wages, safe conditions, and labor unions, insisting dignity should not be an optional upgrade. In 1928, Mickey Mouse made his screen debut in Plain Crazy, a silent short that failed to impress distributors. Even corporate icons sometimes start as a mouse bombing at test screenings. 2 years later, Ellen Church became the first female airline stewardess after convincing Boeing Air Transport that nurses in the cabin would make passengers less terrified of flying. She hauled luggage, cared for sick passengers, fueled planes, and pushed aircraft into hangars, which is less friendly skies and more medical care with a deadlift requirement. Then, May 15, 1940, delivered a bleak split screen. The first McDonald's opened in San Bernardino as the Netherlands surrendered to Nazi Germany. Mechanized warfare was devouring Europe while mechanized hamburgers warmed up in California. And the century somehow found room for blitzkrieg and 15-cent burgers. In 1948, the Arab-Israeli War began after Israel's declaration of independence, bringing survival and victory for the new state, while also unleashing the Palestinian Nakba, a displacement crisis still shaping the present. And in 2010, Jessica Watson sailed into Sydney Harbor after circling the globe alone at 16. The rare case where teen ignores adults ends with national applause instead of a broken mailbox. May 15th keeps handing us first drafts of the future. and the rough draft keeps becoming the operating system. In conclusion, May 15th is not a neat timeline. It is a crown with a general behind it, a trial with the verdict warming up, a formula beside a family crisis, a land sale producing an emperor, and a failed cartoon mouse waiting for sound. The past is a committee meeting during a fire drill, and somehow we still live inside the minutes.